Hey everyone, welcome to our Sunday setup video. This is a time when we take to just reflect on the week that we just had and then look forward to the week that's ahead. And the reason we do this is because we typically have some goals that we're trying to reach, and this is a way for us to just make sure that we're dialing in and concentrating on certain skills that will help us meet those goals. So Aaron, this week we wanted to talk about a question that you get from your people a lot, which is, what do I do when I have a few goals or a few skills that I've learned, and now I have a handful of them?
Right.
What do I do now?
Right. That's a great question. And initially, what I'd like to tell people to do is focus on just one thing, right? And that may be something as simple as scheduling your workouts, or focusing on just portions, or maybe who knows, maybe just eating protein, right? Anything like that. And once you get a little more comfortable with the idea of your practice, you can then begin to do more skills, right?
Okay.
Instead of focusing on just one, you can start adding them together, and we actually just call that stacking your skills.
Okay.
And the idea is that as you're doing one, it kind of prompts you to do the other one too, or the next couple ones, right? You pick ones that kind of work well together and keep you aiming towards your goal.
Okay.
So yeah, that's the main thing, is we say you don't have to do just one goal. In fact, most people do really well when they do a few habits or skills that work really well together.
Is there like a number that you recommend?
Yeah. Actually, that's
skills?
again another really good question. In most of the literature, most of the research around this says anywhere from 1 to 5. One,
Okay.
if you're a beginner, you really focus on just one. And then as you grow your toolbox, right, as you kind of grow your skills, you can usually add up to 5. It's interesting that you can technically do more than 5. It just gets to be really challenging, right? It's hard to really be deliberate about your practice if you're focusing on like 13 different things, right? So 5, for whatever reason, seems to be kind of the cap. And I found with my people that really 2 to 3 is the sweet spot.
Okay.
And what most people can do is they experiment, right? They do these 2 or 3 for a little while, and then maybe they add another one and take one away. And eventually they have their like 2, 3, maybe 4 things that they do consistently, and that gets them right where they need to be and keeps them there.
That's great. All right, so that's kind of the why and a little bit of the how.
Sure, yeah, a little bit.
Tell us more about how to stack our skills.
Right. So I mentioned this, already, in saying that you kind of pick, the things that group together really well. And to make an easy way to remember this, I love using the idea of what's called a pirate map, right? And most people are like, pirate map, what the heck is that? And I want you to think back to any pirate movie that you've seen, Treasure Island or Pirates of the Caribbean, anything like that. And anytime pirates have a map, it's really simple. I mean, yeah, usually in the movies there's like, a clue you have to decipher or something like that. But really, pirates weren't known, I could be wrong, pirates weren't known for being really intelligent. Maybe they didn't know how to read. It was like 3 steps, right? It was like, find the island of Tortuga, get to this harbor, find the palm tree that looks like an X, take 10 steps west and dig, right? It's just not that hard.
Right.
And that's the idea with our maps, right? Whatever your goal is. Let's say your goal is to lose fat. The idea is that there's probably like 3 key steps that you could be taking.
Got it. Okay.
And if you really focus on those things, you're going to get there.
Great.
Most people make their maps or their plans way too complicated, right? The steps get way too hard. It's too tough to do. Or maybe they have so many different things that they're trying to do, and it's just too hard. So the idea is a pirate map with about 3, kind of 3 things. Yeah,
like you said, like those 2 to 3 skills are what make up the direction of the map, right? The directions of the map. Okay, so I think I've heard you say this. When we have our pirate map, the way to make it is to kind of pick those 3 skills and say, every day I need to blank, blank, and blank. Is that kind of what we're getting at?
That's exactly right. Yeah, and I would even say the first step is get really clear about what your treasure is.
Great.
Right?
That's great.
And the treasure is your goal, right? But really, really clear, write it down somewhere and say, man, this is really what I want to do. And then ask yourself, if I were to do 2 or 3 things every day that I think would get me a little closer to that treasure, to my goal, what are those things?
Yeah.
Most people know. Most people have a really good idea. If you don't know, Google it, grab one of your friends and sit down for coffee and just say, hey, this is what I'm working on. What do you think? What are some things that I should do? And yeah, chances are someone else has already gone through this.
Yeah.
There's already a really good idea. And I'll also say that, you know, maps can be different. Your map for, you know, losing fat could be very different than my map for losing fat. And they both
Sure.
might still work. They both might get you to, you know,
Yeah.
where you're going to be there. But yeah, that would be the first thing, is to find your
That's
treasure
great.
and then figure out those like 2 or 3 things that you
need to do every day.
you need to do
Or
daily.
consistently.
Near, yeah, near
Okay.
daily. Yeah,
Okay.
those 3 things that you need to practice.
Yeah, and so we've titled this skill, or this like video, stacking and tracking.
Yeah.
So tell us about the tracking portion. So
Yeah.
once we've identified our treasure,
Yeah.
figured out the steps that we need to take to get there, then tracking it, I'm guessing?
Tracking it, yeah, and all that is that's just a way to help keep you accountable to it.
Okay.
It's easy to say words are cheap. You know, if I say that I want to be a better musician, right? Well, I need to, you know, practice every day, right? I need to actually get it out. I probably need to have, you know, I need to be looking at songs. I need to be, you know, making sure my instrument is in tune, and I can write those things down. But if I don't actually do them,
Yeah.
I don't actually get better.
Right.
And so tracking is just a way for you to say, yes, I practiced.
Okay.
And sometimes it can be as simple as a check mark. Sometimes it's even saying, I did it, you know, 3 times on Monday. I did these things. And like any skill, typically the more you practice, the better you get.
Yeah.
And the other thought I want to have in this is, there's going to be days that you don't practice. That's fine. That's totally fine. It's just a day that you didn't practice. With the idea of like music, right? I play my ukulele, which always makes me smile. But if I miss it for a day or two, it's not like I got worse. I just didn't get better on
Right.
those days, right? I just missed those days to practice.
Sure.
And so that's why the idea of tracking it is helpful, because
Yeah.
it lets you know how often you practiced. When you look back in a week and say, I only practiced once. I gotta, if I'm really focused on this treasure, I need to do this more often.
Yeah.
Right. That's why
Yeah.
we stack them to, you know, to be focused on our goals, and then we track them to be accountable.
That's great. That's great, Aaron. Those are all really great tips. And what we want to give you guys is kind of a write-up of what we've just talked about. And then we also are going to give you a link to a sample of a very simple way to track. And then, so we've got a sample of the track, and then we have a blank one so that you can then create your own if you choose to do that. It's just a Google spreadsheet. Aaron has had clients do tracking in a lot of different ways. I think we've mentioned before, we literally just use a piece of paper and do tick marks for the things that we're tracking. So it doesn't have to be complicated. We just want to give you some ideas of ways that you can track. But really, that's the idea, is making that road, identifying our treasure, making that roadmap, and just kind of saying like, every day I need to, and then writing it down. And then once the week comes around or 2 weeks comes around, you kind of look back and reflect on how you did, and then re-identify potentially a new treasure or new skills to work on.
Yeah, and one thing I'll add is at the one of the sheets that we have, the write-up on this particular skill, at the very bottom of it, there are my 2 favorite pirate naps, right? So there's the 2 or 3 things that you need to do to look and feel better, and then also to lose weight or to lose fat. Those are the 2 goals that I hear most often from my people. And so I always kind of say, hey, these are the 3 things that I recommend. People always can write in their own things.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, these are simply just examples,
Yeah.
ways for us to kind of do a visual of what we're talking about here.
Right.
So, all right, that's
it.
all we have for you guys today. Please let us know if you have any questions. We're here for you. Aaron has years and years of experience of even nutrition coaching and obviously movement coaching and things like that. So we're here for you. We're with you. We're proud of you. Make it a great day.